The evolution of the matchday experience at Alavés games was summed up in a simple but precise manner when Mauricio Pellegrino took charge of his first game as Alavés coach on the club's return to Primera 6 years ago. After a boring 0-0 draw against Sporting, he commented that the atmosphere was amazing, very different from what I remember 10 years ago. The former defender had played at the club 10 years earlier in the 2006-2007 relegation season under Dimitri Peterman. Not exactly a high point in fan club relations. A lot of things have changed since then. Nowadays, of course, a lot depends on the time and the day of the match. TV scheduling has kind of messed things up. But let's go with the classic way of doing things. We'll get the ball rolling with a pre-match drink with friends in Calle Cuchilleria, known locally as La Cuchi, followed by lunch in the same place. La Cuchi is one of those legendary streets that in just a kilometre or so crams in nearly 40 bars and restaurants. You can imagine the atmosphere, especially on derby days, the colour, the banter, as an already narrow street gets tighter and tighter as everyone hangs around outside the bars and sits down munching on the terraces. Hey, those were the days, eh? Then the street and the old parts of Gasteiz in general slowly empties out as the walk down to the ground begins. The route takes you through some of the nobler parts of town, unusual perhaps when talking about walking to a football ground. First through the central squares of La Plaza Nueva and La Virgen Blanca, and on past the new cathedral. Yeah, Victoria's got 2 cathedrals. And throughout the magnificent urban park of La Florida that was designed as a mini botanical gardens. And by this point will be full of music and singing of the peñas as they continue along the tree-lined route out to Mendizorroza. The stadium gets its name from the neighbourhood, and it's one of the poshest parts of town. We walk down La Senda, past the Fine Arts Museum, past Ajurianea, the Basque President's official residence, the Armoury Museum, and some wonderful buildings that would tempt any architect to hang back a little bit and admire them before hurrying up again to walk past El Prado Park, where the city's joggers go round and round in an attempt to emulate world marathon champion Martin Fith, who used it as his training track back in the day. By now, with thousands more people converging from the other routes down to the ground, we finally get to Mendizorroza itself, still sitting proud in its original location 97 years later. It's the 3rd oldest ground in Spanish professional football. One thing I notice as a Brit is that once you're at the ground, there's a complete absence of fast food joints. But of course, this is the Basque Country, where cooking and eating is basically a religion. No hot dogs around here. You'll see, however, plenty of people with carrier bags where they have stashed their bocadillos and pipas. You can't beat a good potato omelette baguette at half time, can you? I've not experienced a nicer walk to any ground anywhere. Vitoria was European Green Capital in 2012 for a very good reason. But the best is yet to come. As it's a relatively small ground with a capacity of just under 20,000, you are in and out in a jiffy. No tunnels or lengthy flights of stairs. It's through the turnstile, up half a flight of stairs, and there you are, in the middle of your stand, breathing in the atmosphere, perhaps the cold air of the Basque winter, and enjoying the view. Mendi is old style. The stands are right up against the sidelines, and I remember watching the Galacticos play there years ago, and from my nearly front row seat, I was literally a few feet away from David Beckham as he took the corners in the second half. And being English and an England fan, that's always stuck in my memory. The corners were filled in at the end of last century, but the budget didn't run to getting rid of the columns, and you can still have a restricted view and do that traditional swaying left and right to be able to follow the game. There's a boxy feel to Mendi. Maybe it's a bit shinier nowadays, as all La Liga stadiums have to follow strict rules of presentation and colour coordination to maximise on-screen glamour for the global TV viewers. But beyond the reach of the camera's eye, it can still be a bit grubby in places, and the toilets, quite frankly, are rubbish, need sorting out. And once you've taken your seat, this is when the Iraultza 1921 experience kicks in. There are few stadiums that can match the constant, and I mean constant, 90-minute long singing and chanting. Iraultza 1921 is the main Alavés Peña. When Baskonia took over the club in 2013, they leaned on their decades-long experience in top-level basketball to create a much better matchday experience for the paying fan. They set about building a closer relationship with all the diverse supporters groups and united them into one large grada de animación behind one of the goals. This, in an unofficial but very emphatic and real way, brought standing back to the matchday experience. And fans that stand are louder, more active, and importantly feel a togetherness and a group identity that had pretty much disappeared from most grounds with the introduction of all-seater stadiums. The chanting and the singing and the music and the noise were back, and in boxy old Mendy it sounds great and it's contagious. They make the most routine games, where the football can be pretty damn dull at times, absolutely come to life. Official figures from the 2018 season showed that average matchday attendance was 93%. That was the highest in the league. And when it dropped a little the following season to 87%, it was still significantly the highest in the league. I've never seen banners and tifos like the ones Iraultza produced before games. From ground level right up to the roof, they hoist them up, completely covering the Polideportivo end. They are always making their point, depending on the game or a significant social event. And their protests against TV scheduling, for example, caused big waves and a lot of trouble for themselves. But tellingly, the club never steps in and continues to support and back them. It's a great example of the 12th man, game in, game out, motivating the players by being with them, beside them, cheering them, singing through the good times and the bloody awful ones too. They never, ever stop. I'll let an away team coach and player sum things up. Cuco Ciganda, when he was Athletic Club de Bilbao head coach, said, "It's a bombonera, a small ground with a really well organised fan base. The atmosphere and musicality make it such a great place to play." And Oscar de Marcos, playing for Athletic on the same day, said, "Any player loves competing in an atmosphere like that." So, now you've heard about it, when you get the chance, go and experience it. You won't regret it.